If you want your mind to be blown and your reality to shift, provided World War III doesn't happen, come with me May 8th through 19th to Egypt with Muhammad Ibrahim and Derek Olson. See you there. All right, you guys, I'm here with Nicole Collard. She's been on before. She is a personal friend in my real life that I have. Okay, so she's hard to describe though, because she has this thing called embodied sovereign goddess, which I actually belong to, and it's on this app called School, but I don't even know what you call it. It's like there's all these healing she's basically a life coach, but she doesn't like that term life coach because it's not really like, oh, this is what you have to do with your life. Like she just teaches you the ins and outs on how to actually really do shadow work, I would say, and how to really um exercises and techniques that you can use to dig deep into your psychology and to reprogram the things that you've been programmed with that are maybe not working for you anymore. And forever it's been like a chick thing. It's been like embodied goddesses thing. But now she's got all these other protocols and things that can actually be used for men. And since most of my audience is men, it's like, don't get off, stay on, because there's some stuff that's kind of cool and interesting for you to hear. Okay, so welcome aboard, Nicole. How
Thank
did I butch
you.
that up?
You did great. Good job. Happy to be here. Always fun to talk with you.
Okay, so like describe for people who've never heard anything about you what it is that you like to do.
I'm all about empowering people, and that used to look like doing energy work and pretty much doing everyone's homework for them. Like, oh, you're in pain. Let me take that away for you. And it evolved to like, oh, that didn't serve anyone. And I really had to work through all that stuff. And so it's evolved to like, here's how you get empowered. Here's how you free yourself from this bondage. I can show you, I can model for you, I can, sound my tuning fork and let that frequency start resonating your own. But all the power is within each person. So I'm here to support and help, and I mentor, and one-on-one work has been amazing for my own transformations. But I am really passionate about getting all the power and tools, whatever resonates, whatever will help people just really know like we have everything we need within. We don't need anything outside of ourselves. We do heal better in community or with another person to co-regulate our nervous system with, because most of the time we were injured in community or in a relationship with another
Yeah.
person. So it helps to heal. We heal, shift faster, a little more deeper doing so. And so I want to like one-on-one work with people. It's expensive. I get it. So I've been really excited to be able to provide community and a group where we can just access these things. We can work on it together. There's the accountability, there's the team aspect, and yeah, good stuff to get our lives enjoyable because living here can be fun.
That means living on planet Earth.
I'm
And
talking about that.
yeah. Um, okay, so we went to me and Nicole have done some traveling. We went to the Gem and Mineral Tucson show last year, which was super awesome. And then we also went to go see we went to Alaska and we saw the did we ever see the Northern Lights? Like let's talk about that. Like man, Alaska came alive for us. Like basically I just wanted to go see the Northern Lights. And you're not guaranteed to see the Northern Lights just because you want to go see them. But we saw them and they like were sentient and like dancing like right in front of us and like on us and like we saw them in a way that I didn't know. Like video pictures cannot capture what's really going on there. And then I was like, whoa, these are not what they've told us they are. They're not just like sun flares and sun waves. Like they are an intelligence in and of themselves. So, yeah. So would you want to say about that whole Northern Lights thing?
Well, I had a bucket list, end all be all drive to get out to Alaska. So when the trip popped up with you, thank you. That was like, yep, gotta be there. The Northern Lights were utterly incredible and completely mind-blowing. I've not been the same person since experiencing them. I had massive shifts since having them. I mean, it was not just you're in it. Like they were just on us. They
Ooh.
were like I was pretty sure I could touch them. I think they were just like a foot away. Like they
Yeah.
just dropped so low
Oh, I'm pretty
over
sure,
us.
like, my hand went through one at some point. Like, the thing is, like, and these were the first batch that we saw. We saw them, like, 3 or 4 nights, and they are different intensities depending on the night you see them or whatever. But so we went to Fairbanks. We were on our way up to Chena Springs, which is where we were staying to go see the lights. And, um, I don't know, I was like, "Is that them? What?" And then we pulled over to this gas station, and we got out, and it was like, "Oh," like, just insane. So we ended up there's with Northern Lights, there's a K that, like, your, like, probability and your likelihood of seeing them are based on the K levels, or I don't know what that stands for, but so the highest it goes to is, like, a K8, and then the lowest it goes to is obviously, like, a K0, and we happened to hit a K8 night, which there are I mean, we're solar maximum 2024, so we technically did that in 2023, so we're closer to the solar maximum, so you are gonna get a couple of K8s in 2023, and maybe you'll get probably a lot more K8s in 2020 4 and 2025, and then it'll slowly start going down to where the solar minimum, you probably won't get hardly any K8s, which are the highest magnitude that you usually would respond to. But we you there weren't that many K8. Like, we were there on the day of the largest storm. Like, we just happened to,
Happened.
just
Nikki
happened.
Nikki
Yeah.
called some things in, cleared the skies for
I
us.
knew we were gonna see them, and
And
I had to go because I knew.
yeah. And it was vernal equinox. Like what an epic time. I super love that it was en route, that we saw them en route to our destination. Like the journey is the destination, right? So I love
Right.
that that was put in there as like, yep, it's about the journey.
Yeah.
And the setting was like the most plain, not cool
Gas
setting
station.
that
Yeah.
we had. And it was the most magnificent. And to me, it's just like that is real life. It's the menial, mundane moments. And the magic is in all of them. Because we were in some pretty stellar, driving
You
Arctic
paid a lot to go
vehicles
to
for
a place
hours in
where
yurts and
yeah.
surrounded by nothing but stars and mountains and pine trees. And yet, it was just shadows in the sky, traces of the lights. So yeah, I
Yeah,
like the
we
contrast
actually
and
paid
setting they
to do a
appeared.
tour where we went on these, like, I don't even they're not even Zambotis, I don't know what they're called. They're like these, like, ice track things that probably used to
SUSV,
be they were called what?
SUSV, SUSV. We
Susfi.
made up a fun acronym like "Shake Us Up."
Yeah, I
Shake
mean, it felt like,
violently.
oh, but I mean, they were probably used in World War II or something, like, but they're
They're
like
for
just
Arctic.
the
They're for
trenches
Arctic.
of Arctic.
Mhm.
And, there were yeah, like she said, like, there were yurts set up and everything was, like, no light pollution, everything was exactly conditioned for Northern Lights, and we did see some there, we did. But after having already seen our ones that like to technically dance with us, they were like, "Oh, these are a little lame." But, I mean, they were pretty still, but they weren't but, like, that is a great observation in that, like, you can try to go have the most perfect experience and, like, sometimes it'll happen. Life happens when you're making plans, there you go. Uh,
Yeah, and really to show the quality and I guess intensity of the lights that we saw that first night, like we were at a gas station. It's lit up.
lit
That's
up.
like a ton of light pollution. And these were the most intense, vibrant colors I've ever seen. There aren't words for them. Yeah, the magic of the moment was
And then
indelibly
the
imprinted.
iPhone, like, wasn't recording him, and Nicole was just like, "Just be in it, Nikki. Stop trying to record it." And I was like, "Oh, that's so true." I don't know why it's blurry. I can't help it. It's blurry. There's the moon and Jupiter. It's just spread all over, and they're just dancing. You can't. Oh, you can't see.
But I do appreciate your pictures that you got. They're beautiful.
Yeah, and I'll put them in here so you guys can see what we were talking about. And those are iPhone pictures that are like a tenth of what it really was. So that's just so you know. Yeah. But yeah, we also saw like every animal that exists in Alaska. So we were greeted by some moose that were on our Airbnb door. I mean, and I know you're not supposed to like mess with mooses because they kill a bunch of people or something or whatever, but there was like a baby boot moose like nest down for the evening on our front door to get into our Airbnb. And then the mama moose came around and we like somehow got in, and then we could see like the giant moose like right next to the windows of the entire place that we were at. I was like, is this cool? This is cool, but is this safe? I don't know.
The
Yeah.
other funny thing about that is I walked right past the moose. I didn't see it. I walked from the car into the
I
Airbnb.
think Andrea did too. Either of you guys like saw
See
it. And
it.
I was just
I
like, what's
walked back, didn't see it. You're like, Nicole. And I'm like, what? And this by this time the moose had stood up. It was right there. I'm like, I still can't see it. Which gets really funny because I never would have believed that moose medicine is actually camouflage. And unless I'd had that, let me walk by the moose and not see it at all experience, because you just don't think, oh, those moose are just so hard to find and spot. So I thought that was pretty cool. I was definitely gifted with that medicine. It's,
yeah.
yeah, it was
And
really
it
beautiful.
and it was interesting to me how the baby was bigger than a horse. I mean, the
Hmm.
baby was gigantic. And then the mom came and it was like, oh, wow. Like, wow. That is a ginormous animal.
Mamas are tough.
So anyway, yeah, that was really cool. And then we went to the ocean and we did a well, the it was snowing and they were like, "Oh, it's gonna be really horrible for you." And we almost didn't make it there, but finally we trudged through. We had to do it, and we saw orcas and like porpoises and a bald eagle grab a goose, and we saw like sea otters, and I mean, everything you could possibly. They were like, "We've never seen this many in one tour." And we're like, "Yeah, it's because we were there."
It was so amazing. And yeah, the what was it supposed to be like an hour drive, the 4 hour drive
Yeah.
through an avalanche detonation
Oh, that's
and
true.
in a full-on blizzard. It was incredible. Every aspect of Alaska was so stellar to me. And the elementals, the element power was mind-boggling. And yeah, the orcas was really incredible to me. They're definitely an affinity for me, and before I went, I had felt them calling. So I know, like, we almost didn't go out to the ocean, and I had never been out in the ocean in a boat. So that was my first open water boat time, and it felt so good. It felt like second nature. I was so happy out there on the water.
Yeah, and it was a there were when we got to the open ocean on the boat, it was in a blizzard, by the way, that's we started. We were on the ocean in a blizzard. It was there were some big waves that we were experiencing. That was like, if we fell into the ocean right now, we would freeze. This is crazy. Like there was crushing ice and stuff. It was beautiful to see, but the boat wasn't that big. So, no. So I don't know. But yeah, so I okay, like so let's talk about okay, what is it like give me your take on what it is to be a sovereign avatar in a slave culture because that's what we are and that's like you talked about.
Yeah, because I know you talk about so many fun things on your channel, and so many things are just so awesome, like sexy galactic stuff that's really fun to get into, right? Like,
Yeah.
and in order to handle all the truths and especially all the disinformation and systemic oppression we've been dealt with in this life, I think it's absolutely essential that we be fully sovereign. Uh, and that's something that we just can't, all of a sudden do like, but I cracked out of the egg. but we'll get there as we build up the strength. And being sovereign, we're in this systems of oppression. We have to start with our own inner work. And there are just so many layers to that. We can start essentially with like how we speak. Are we saying, I can't do this? Or are we saying, I am completely capable? You feel the frequency of each statement. And Dr. Emoto has the image of I can't, you know, in a snowflake, and
The
it
water
shows,
crystals, yeah.
yeah, it shows like, yeah, that's a solid, and it will just like smother you. They're like, there's no intricacies in it. It's just like the cell, like boom. I'm like, wow, that's literal. And so watching our language is something we can do. Doesn't matter if anything outside of us changes. When we start doing our shadow work or inner child healing, whatever it is for you, we get so empowered because we're no longer needing things outside of us to shift. Like we've shifted inside, and it naturally shifts everything around us. But it's so freeing to be like, you know what? I thought I needed this $1,000 to come in, but I actually didn't. What I needed was to feel safe. And because I aligned all of the cells in my body to the frequency of safety, I feel safe. And there's all these other different options and avenues and synergies coming online that more than make up or even better pathways than like, oh, we have to get it through this extra $1,000 coming in. And so when we build our inner sovereignty, it just gets really good. We go from being very foveal focused, so hyper fixated, one thing, it's bad, it's so then it just colors our whole vision, right? Like, oh, life sucks. But as we develop our sovereignty, we learn how to expand. We learn how to take in everything that's not that. We learn how to focus on what it is we do want and start creating and start collapsing the old conditioning that kept us in a loop, kept us focused on what we didn't want, kept us stuck in that rat race on the hamster wheel that we didn't want to be creating. And so, oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, and it's amazing to just like, I always like Nicole always remind like if I'll be like, she's like how are you in your body right now? And it'll be like, well, like actually we when we were in Alaska, we both kind of broke our tailbone when we were dog sledding or whatever. And I was still bitching about it like a month or two afterwards. And she was like, okay, just go into the tailbone, like find a place that feels good in your body. Like and I'm like, okay, I don't know, like my pinky. She's like, okay, have the cells in your pinky talk to the cells in your like tailbone and explain to, like, you know, shit, like you have the tools, you have the medicine within your own body to know what it feels like to feel whole and good and healthy again. So just do it. Like if you're empowered, you can do it. Like you have an amazing tool that is your body. Um, you know, have your body talk to healthier parts of your body and come like move up, you know, like match it sort of thing. And I think that it's like there's so many things that you forget until we just sort of help um I don't know what like remind each other of.
Our bodies are so powerful. They're so incredible. They're so regenerative. They're very organic. If we quit putting toxins in them, they would like heal immediately and like regenerate themselves. So they're incredible. And especially when we get in our body, when we're all in our body, it doesn't leave room for anything else to be using our body. And then we have access to that full power. But so much of our power, so much of our body has been shamed from just fashion culture, fashion standards. This is how you're supposed to look to be attractive. This is how you're supposed to look to be desirable. You know, like
Yeah.
that all goes in there, and we start to shame different aspects of ourselves, and we've just cut ourselves off from like tons of our power because the body is where it's at, and it's normal to dissociate when we can't tolerate things anymore, but like this is where we want to be. This is cooler than any place. This is cooler than any remote viewing location. This is cool that, you know, this is cooler than anything we can fathom. This is where the magic is. And we can still appreciate and enjoy everything outside of us, but even more so when we're all in our body, then we can see things in like technicolor with surround sound because our senses are all online. and accessible
I
to us.
That's something I definitely have had to learn the ass backwards hard way, because I was always wanting to escape this reality in some kind of way. Like I am always like, whether it's galactic shit or Dreamtime Land or whatever it is. Like I've always sort of been like, yeah, this ain't it. But it's weird, like, I'm already 41 and being, like, halfway through or maybe not halfway yet. We'll see how that works. Actually, I don't really know, but anyway,
You're at least at
um,
a node return, a
I'm
node
at a
switch.
node return. Like, being this far in, I'm going like, "Oh, man, this ride is short." And I heard somebody say this once, and I don't know who it was, but it, like, rang true for me where it was just this whole thing about how, um and you can know this from your own dream time and stuff, everybody can, but when you're dreaming, you can hear things, you can see things, you can experience emotions and dreams, but what's missing is tactility. Like even like that's how I wake up in my dreams all the time. That's my lucid dreaming trick is that like I'm always doing this. Like right now I was just playing with this pen, I was like all rubbing it and stuff, but I'm always aware of my tactility. And I think that the reason I wake up a lot within my dreams is that I will be like, like my fingers don't feel anything. Like I don't have the sense of tactility. So the beauty of being incarnated into this 3D Earth reality that we're in for a short ride. It feels long, but it's really a short ride when you look back at where you've gone from here. Uh, is actually the physicality of it and the tactility and the thing. So like don't take for granted the feel of stuff. Like don't take for granted like touching things and so when you say get into your body, like I didn't really understand what that meant for the longest time, but then recently now I've been just really understanding the importance of feeling your soul within the material that is your body and like really being aware, having awareness of your toes right now and of your fingers and all that stuff because we won't have it forever. And it's while you got it, man, it is a superpower. It was very hard to get into this incarnation. So like it while you're here. It's not it's you're gonna
And and just to shout out, like we're designed to get out of our bodies, right? We have systemic, strategic things in place to like get us out of our bodies because this is our power spot. And so I just want to acknowledge everyone who is highly sensitive, everyone who is empathic, everyone who has that big heart and sees the cruelties and being like, I'm out, this fucked up. Like it's obvious, and that is a safety protocol so that we're not overwhelmed. So it happens, and it is the work. It seems like once we hit 40 and have the node switch into our north node time and into our destiny, it's like, okay, now we got to get back in. Let's integrate everything. Let's heal everything. Let's get on purpose. But yeah, it feels good. It feels good to be in. When I first, like after I've had some near-death experiences, when I first gotten back into my body, super painful, really awful, and not fun. And I remember having hope that like it can all feel good in here. And it seemed like a pipe dream, but I went with it. I'm like, I need that to be real for my reality to function right now. So I'm going with it. And what do I have to lose? Right? It already hurts. I already have what I have. But I worked that and I did. I created a body that feels good everywhere. And even when your tailbone is broken, when my tailbone is broken, I could source, what's everything in my body that's not that. That does feel amazing. Like, ha. And there's, creating that community because as within, so without, we'll get lonely inside. We'll have places inside of us that are detached from everywhere else. And we need to reconnect. We need to create the community, the oneness, a non-judgmental space where everyone's voice is welcomed and honored and their perspectives are shared. And like, wow, thank you for sharing that because, this part of my skin up here had no idea what it was like to be the back of my knee. Like, wow, we go through such different stuff. And, every part is welcome. And I think that's where we can really dismantle the whole perfectionism and hierarchy system that we're immersed in here.
yeah.
Be like, you know what, every part matters. I'm glad there is skin on every part of me. I'm glad every part of me functions. You know, like we get to learn like sure there's parts that can bleed out faster and parts that will die without faster, but every part is so appreciated. Every part
Yeah.
matters.
It all
And
makes
I'm
up the
really
whole.
yeah. And dream space, super real. I'm kind of jealous that one that you've got a way to tell. I feel in my dreams are very lucid. And for the first 40 years of my life, I woke up with like PTSD from what I experienced in my dreams. They were just so real. It would take me all day or longer to work through it.
Yeah,
So that's cool. That's
I
cool.
was
You've got to
very
tell.
traumatized as oh, I used to think like there was people like I would dream of people coming in from the windows and kidnapping me, and I was abducted by so many kinds of aliens and
Eh,
beings. Like the
pretty
amount of
valid.
stuff that like from the age of I don't know, born until mm,
Yeah.
30, I was
Because when you've
just
got all those skills, they're pretty
traumatized in my dream time.
desirable.
Yeah. That, but I mean, and I realized no one was coming to help me. No one was gonna, like, there was nothing that anybody could do for me in dream time. So I had to like start getting observant, and that's one of the things that before I go to bed, I have intention in terms of like, I watch my consciousness go make the switch from awake to unconscious, and then I know when I'm in a I know that I'm dreaming or where I'm at within my dream most of the time. And sometimes my dreams are boring. Like sometimes they're like, yeah, I was like in a house with stuff like repeating like daily stuff. But I mean, not all the time. So but I no longer have nightmares and I no longer have that kind of stuff because I can change the channel. And you can change the channel as soon as you're aware that you are dreaming. So you just have to kind of like you are you and you are you even when you're asleep. So as long as you just kind of have to learn how to fill into taking control of um your your consciousness center. You have to like be in it when you're follow it with you all the time. Like sometimes like it's like not only just be embodied when you're in your actual body, but also be embodied when you're in your dreams. Like be, you know, there with it.
Yeah. What usually wakes me up is when things are happening that I'm like, wait, I don't do that kind of thing.
Yeah, that wouldn't
And
happen
then
if
I'll like snap myself up. But when after I had left religion and divorced and I was sleeping in my own space, I quit having nightmares. I'm like, well, that cleared a lot out. And then when I did have something chasing after me, because I just kind of had that breather, I'd be like, no, don't follow me, stay away. They didn't listen. And instead of running, which is what I used to do, yeah, I just took them on. And I happened to have some like handy katanas right there. Could whip and it was that not running. And flight is a valid part of staying alive and survival strategy. It served me well in my life. But taking a stand where there are places where we don't need to run anymore, part of being sovereign. After that dream of not running anymore, I didn't have a single other chase me dream, which I hate those. Those are the worst. And
Okay.
so again, that's part of your sovereignty, right? Like, yeah, no, owning your power. I've got this.
Well,
Here's
that's
my
where I really like Anne's approach to like so we both me and Nicole have both been
yeah.
like I had Anne Ishitaki on here like last month, and she's got a YouTube channel called Skin Suit Manual, and she does all these protocols to basically get soul fragments back from I don't know what you how you would summarize her, but basically it's an empowerment movement of kind of realizing that like okay, we're in some sort of construct and there are these things that have, we've been fragmented and we're trying to make ourselves whole. And also you can't really get rid of anything with just like killing it or destroying it or like that doesn't actually because this is we're basically all in the mind of God or or I don't know how you explain it, but like something like that.
Oh, one.
We're all one, okay, in some kind of way, even though we're in the illusion of separation for this time being or whatever. I don't know. Who knows what's true or not, but like if that's true, then that's a thing. And if we're in some sort of you know, construct, then the only way out of it is to change the game. So instead of like like killing everything or whatever, you do have to like acknowledge, revoke, take back everything, all the permissions, all the I don't know, whatever she kind of says. And then you heal it and you send it love, acknowledge it, and move on. So that's been really a cool new perspective of looking at things the last winter, fall months for me this year.
Yeah. Yeah. So my last killing episode in my dream was 7 years ago. And what for me, that was a big step up because I was no longer running. I was actually engaging. So
Mhm.
you can't really fix stuff or create a deeper connection with anything when you're just running away, when you're avoiding it. So like for me, like that was a step up. But yeah, Anne's method is so much superior because these things are us. Things have likely swapped you out at night, gotten you, taken some stuff, taken some shards, taken parts of your body, and created new things, usually typical artificial sentiences that are then now, they've got your essence, they've got your parts, they've got your skills. And yeah, I've really enjoyed Anne's work. I recommend her stuff to everyone. I mean, like,
Yeah.
check this out. And after I did her first protocol, I had some visitors that night, and I'm like, oh, I was really shocked because I was about to get knifed right over my head. I'm like, how did you get in here? And how did you get like in between me and the wall on my head? And realizing how my just protocol boundaries, protection, like here's my line, don't cross it, I'm asleep. How that got infiltrated. I'm like, because they're a part of me. They've got
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
got all my codes. Of course they're gonna get through. And so realizing that all we need is love, and then putting that in my boundary lines. My boundary lines are now full of love and empathy and healing. And I call in all those soul shards. I've done soul retrieval work for over decades, 2 decades at least. And doing and stuff, I still feel soul shards coming back in. And they're on top of, I think there are more. I've gotten the majority of the soul shards back, but like there's like tons of copies out there that AI
Yeah.
is used. And so neutralizing the copies is also interesting. And just healing anything that's got my stuff in it, it's gonna get healed. It's gonna get heavy dose of empathy because I have to learn how to live with it. So do you. You're gonna have these skills, you're gonna have the empathy that goes with it. And it's been the first time that I've really appreciated my empathy because I've really been crippled. I felt very debilitated by the levels of empathy I have in this society that we live in. And when I laced my shields with empathy, oh my gosh, that was like the greatest thing ever. I'm like, that's potent stuff right there.
That's actually kind of cool
It's awesome.
concept to like, yeah, because I mean, I've always been super empathic and could feel what other people are feeling and really disliking that ability. But actually that probably can serve for that
Yeah.
greater purpose of that.
Who's gonna hurt someone if they feel it more than you do? Like,
Yeah.
I think that's such a great safety. I almost want to call it just like a safety switch that we put in with any powers. Like
Mm.
empathy is definitely much needed because power, everyone I've studied with a lot of power, they get corrupted. It messes with them.
That's true.
And empathy is a huge asset.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it will, and it also, yeah, it keeps you from getting too egoic, um,
Well,
or
yeah, and
I don't think
understanding, taking the time to get consent, taking the time to understand because you're feeling it too. You realize like, oh, my objective isn't the objective. I actually do want to connect. And the whole like we're all one, but all differentiated, kind of like our hand, all one, fingers differentiated, just like a fractal. Like each of those extensions is part of the whole, and it doesn't serve us to cut them off or to destroy them. It does serve us all to understand, connect, and create synergistic win-win solutions or synergy or dances that meet all of our needs in ways that are even better than we could think of on our own.
and then that kind of makes me go into the whole, you talk about like what kind of sovereign world do we want to create? So, and I remember last time we talked, you talked about your creatrix, and you really do, you embody this more than most people I know, where you really do focus on what you want to create, not what isn't here. So yeah, walk us through a little bit of how where your mind's at with all of that.
This is stellar power. And this is all you because you bring this up anytime we're in a group or a gathering. Like, what do you guys want to create?
I
Because,
love
it is such a fun topic to discuss. So, how our brains are made, when we have like a problem thing that, like, oh, I don't like this. I'm not happy with this. I would like this to change. If we, turn our focus away from that and we see what we want instead, this becomes a resource. And we can always like shrink what we don't want, right? We can minimize it. We can do things to buffer it and to dampen the effects. But if we connect this part of our brain that's focused on what's wrong with this part of our brain that's like knows what it wants and has the resources, and we, again, as we talked about, we can cultivate any resource within us. They're all frequencies. So if we want to feel more love, great. If we want to feel um, like we have attention, great. If we want to feel safe, great. Like we can get any of those frequency states. And if we connect that resource with the one that's having an issue, it's kind of like they're like, oh, hey, it's like, hey, unresourced, here's resourced, you guys talk. And they become aware of each other. They get a little like, oh, we've got this in common. Like, oh, maybe they're touching hands by the end, and they just start creating a deep relationship. We can just see that with neural networks
Yeah.
on MRI brain scans. And our brain doesn't know what's made up and what's not. It reacts the same. So we are projecting our reality from that. Like it's so pliable, it's so moldable. And as soon as we bring our resource state to an unresourced state, one, we've opened up this whole canvas of our brain to work with instead of just, the part in fight and flight. So we've got all this logic parts it can go through, all these parts that have blood flow and fresh cerebral spinal fluid, and we can create new opportunities. But the resource state will just kind of like, hey, dude, like we've got so many resources, let's try this. And it's like, okay. And it dissolves it and it's gone. And we have that within us. We can use it with everything. And just it doesn't take that long to shift. Like I've been doing 15-minute sessions trying out new neuroscience techniques. And people are like, yeah, that 15 minutes, I thought it was just these three things that were waking me up at night and keeping me awake and causing me stress. But then it like dissolved to everything and I have no issues. I'm like, awesome. Amazing.
Well, I've noticed within my own life, how many, and I've been victim to this before as well, but um, how many people don't like know what they want, period. Like they haven't even sat down with themselves for 10 minutes to really question what they want, not what society wants for them, not what
Yeah.
they're supposed to have, not what the da 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 da. And like it can be as easy as like I don't even think we're conscious of food. Like meaning like I don't even know what I want to eat right now. I mean, it's like like what's easy, what's convenient, what's there. Like, we're so unconscious about so many parts of our lives, whether it's, like people aren't I, I mean, I think they're just living in the place that was the best suited for the situation. I mean, everything is just sort of like, "Nah, yeah, and when you do that all throughout your whole life, you start realizing you're not in your world, you're not in your life, you're in somebody else's, or you're in some other, you're a slave, you're in the slave culture. So you have to even just basic questions of what do you want? And that could literally be like, I want to go play board games all day tomorrow. I don't care what it is. It's like you really just need to honestly 100% know what you like and what you want, which, yeah, I mean, just
So
start
just
asking yourself these things because, like, it's so weird how you think that for me, that sounds like the most basic bitch stuff ever. Like, right? Like, everybody knows what they want. But what I found in real life is nope, they don't.
Mm-mm. And we can just extract from what we don't want. Like that's great information. Okay, not that. Well, what is not that? What does that look like? And
Yeah.
it is huge because we're programmed from so young to quit asking, to quit desiring, but our desires are where our passion is. And there is a very fun line to walk between going for those desires and being content and super grateful for what we have. And it's a dance. It's, walking between the waves crashing. It's really fun. It's beautiful. And there's so much that's available to us. Like, why not be doing what you want? And so I just want to shout this out because I've been in places where I'm like, well, I am doing this sucky job that I don't want to be doing. And what's really helped me is being super grateful, being super grateful for that sucky job, whatever its perks are, celebrating all the goodness from it. And then you start cultivating your passion and desires again, and you start doing those on the side.
Yeah, the
Most,
shitty job shows you, it helps you to be like, okay, well then I know I don't want this. What do I want? How can I get what I want?
and there are some people that like stuff that you don't. Like
Yeah, which is great.
one person's turn off is another person's turn on. And there's no reason why you have to feel like you're stuck doing that thing because somebody else may love it and you may love doing something else. And so just starting to create that bridge, allowing yourself to start creating, it can happen. And any way I can support you, I would love to because I too have felt stuck in things. But it's interesting. Yeah, even just talking with my kids and letting them know, like, you know what? Some people love being alone and not having anyone talk to them at work. If that makes you feel lonely, there's lots of other jobs where you have to talk with people. And, some people hate having to talk with people. So like go find that, match up. Like it's out there, it's possible, and it's there for you. We're not
Like I worked at a debt collection agency for about 3 months or maybe 2 months when I was how old was I? Like maybe 26 or something. And but it was before I had an art gallery. I had just finished grad school before I had an art gallery. And I was working in Dallas before I moved to New York. Anyway, it was this little time frame where it was like my friend's dad owned the company. And it was just like, oh, well, just do this while you figure out while you find like a job in the field you wanted kind of thing, whatever. And I used to cry. I wouldn't put my mascara on until I got to work because I was crying in the car at 7 or 6 in the morning. I'm not an early bird. I don't like doing early things. And uh anyway, like there were people there that loved they thought it was the funniest, best thing to get on the phone with people about like trying to collect their debts and like all this stuff. And like my heart was like breaking and I like hate the whole thing was just like the worst place for me. But it was that actually made me like I then became a hardcore entrepreneur for like 6 years after that. I ran a business in New York City and I didn't have resources in terms of it's not like I had billions of dollars or millions of dollars or family money to like be given to me to like, oh, how did you pay for rent in Manhattan? I just would tell I didn't pay rent. I went and I said, "Let me," like, and this all came to me from basically knowing that I could not work in an office the way that like when I did that whole thing, it was the best 3 months I could have possibly been ever given because I 100% knew that there's anything in the world is better than that and I am never going back to that no matter what. And so like it just made my ingenuity just on crack, man. And then so yeah, basically I would go around to vacant real estate spaces and I'd say, "Hey, I'm going to come in, I'm going to stage your place, I'm going to make it look like an art gallery and I'll help you sell the building and I'm not going to pay rent. Like I'm offering you a service to have a art show in here." And so like the first 100 people were like, you're crazy, you little kid." And then eventually I found somebody who was like, "That's a pretty good idea." And then it snowballed. And then it was like 5 or 6 years. I had tons of galleries and a lot of people wanted like would come to me to, "Hey, will you come stage our place?" Like it'll help it sell versus a vacant building. Anyway, it's just one of those things where the sometimes the work sometimes when you're in the most despair or you're in the shittiest like time of your life or you're working the most mediocre horrible job, like you said, appreciate that because that is giving you a lesson that may spur something that you would never have been able to have otherwise.
I love that story because totally illustrates, right? Like my resources have to be in money. And you were like, my resources are in how awesome this idea is. And I'll connect with you and I'll do this. Like, and it was what a total service, lighting up a spot, bringing in attention. So people are walking
Putting
into
art
the
in
space
it
and
and
seeing
yeah.
it and it's getting notoriety. And art is so elevating. Like, it was mind blowing. And that was way better than money.
I never and
It
that
needs
wasn't
to
an
work that
idea that
way.
was out there. That was an idea that I at the time, like, they even wrote, like, a article about me in New York Times because it was like there was no like, that nobody was doing that, but um, I like, yeah, the idea had to come from the opposite. It
Yeah.
had to come from the, "Okay, that's great. So I want to," like, what do I ultimately want? I ultimately want to be an art dealer. At the time, that's, like, what I wanted. Okay, how can I do that being a broke 26-year-old? Like,
Yeah.
you had
How
to,
can I?
"How
Right?
can I?" Mhm.
How can I? Such an empowering question. Gets your mind going on a very productive and constructive mission. It's like, I will find that answer for you and I will be right back.
Yeah,
Instead of these
your
negative loops
resources
we
are
run
way
on.
more they're way more than you know, like, in terms of
Yeah.
just connections and, like, what people are willing to, like, there's so many trading and bartering and yeah, I don't know. But I mean, like, I've seen people do this kind of thing with all kinds of stuff, where
Yeah.
um, you can find, like, people do a lot of selling stuff online, and like they'll do like the whole like print on demand concepts or there's just so many things where like you don't have to spend a lot up front to get something. And I don't know, we're just talking about businesses or money right now, but I mean, I'm even talking about like l- e- if you want to find love, you don't have to just get on dating websites or something. You could literally start going to things you're interested in. If you are interested in, I don't know, rocks, then go to a bunch of rock shows, go to a bunch of there are rock clubs. There are I don't know what you're interested in, but you could probably I don't know, there's obscure things that people are interested in that I don't even know about. Like model airplane clubs or something, I don't know. Whatever it is, but like you start finding commonalities with people and communities and like that's another great way to like get good friends is that you have to like within the community within your own body, you also have to find community within the world of humans that are around us because we basically live alone together. We're in cities or towns alone together. That's just sort of how I see a lot of people working now. And that was very much programmed with us with COVID, right? Like 6 feet away, stay 6 feet away. And there's some sign of almost lingering psychology to that, where a lot of people I've noticed, especially in like younger generations, like they just haven't got the same level of I don't know, closest is the right word or not, but networking kind of skills together that they did. But in terms of creating the reality you want to see, I watch 0 news. And if someone's too political on a social media, I mute them or I get them off. Or the only reason I'm even on social media basically is to sort of promote this podcast, which I do a horrible job of. But I just think that you can't let the outside world permeate your like your engine of creation too much or you'll ruin your
Yeah. It shuts
desires.
you down. Like there's too
Yeah.
much to process. You can't get your own stuff out.
You have to be really selective of what you're letting
Overconsumption.
in.
overconsumption in any way, whether it's food, sex, buying things, like literally hoarding. Like if you buy too much stuff, you have too much stuff in your environment, it shuts you down. You don't have as much movement or freedom to move around. So there's tons of overconsumption with ideas and things now. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a thing.
That makes a lot of sense with it. Yeah, I mean, because like I've even had this thing where I'm even overconsumed with information,
Hmm.
and then like having to sort through what information is ultimate truth or not truth, and what is ultimate truth, what is not ultimate truth. And
And getting to talk about it with somebody helps you process, which breaks things down. You assimilate what's good, you throw away what's not. We can journal that. Who knew that those book report essays were actually helping us digest information? But it's a real thing, like
yeah,
the process. And even just sharing our take on what something is helps us digest it.
or yeah, I mean, because the other thing is like we could all watch the same video and get different things out of it, or
Mhm.
whatever. So like I've definitely seen this when we've watched the Anne ones, be like, oh, that's what you took out of that. Okay, I took this out of that. So like let's talk about Nicole has recently gone raw vegan. And before you go on hating on about all that, like I have to say, like I was vegan for 1 year when I was 30 to 31. I've been a vegetarian for 16 years. But when I was 30 to 31, I was a vegan and I was so gorgeous. It was like my skin was so clear. I weighed like nothing. And I felt amaze balls. It was ultimately too hard for me to keep up because um nobody in my life was even vegetarian. And then like eating out was just, and this is, you know, 10 years ago. So eating was, it just became it just became too much for me to keep up with but that year was like amazeballs, and I'm thinking about trying it again. But the raw vegan is got some interesting spiritual implications that I really like. So like what talk about that?
It really does. I've actually been reading the source of the person I'm following who's promoting it. His name's Shane Sterling. I'll send you his link so you can include it in the notes. But he suggests you read the Essenes Gospel of Peace. And that's been a fascinating read because I am formerly zealously religious, and I'm not really into any more scriptural things. But reading this, it shows all the Earth Mother, like the Mother Earth practices that were as equally discussed as any, Sky Daddy stuff. And all of the elements, all of the being one with nature, working with nature in cycles, that was all taken out. I'm like, oh, all that good stuff was gone. So anyway, that's been interesting. And a lot of the raw veganism actually comes from that. The Essenes practiced raw veganism because the food was still alive. So it brings you life. It still has its enzymes, depending on how it's cultured, regenerative practices, if they're used, the foods will be rich in enzymes, which helps you break down the food, get all the nutrients you need. The aspect of cooking something kills it, denatures all the goodness. You don't have as many vitamins, you don't have the enzymes that help you break down, you don't have the probiotics.
That makes
We
sense.
are more microbiome than we are ourselves. So we're more other entities. We are more bacteria DNA in our microbiome than we are us. So out of the many, one, right? Like it takes a lot of things to make us. And if your microbiome is acidic, it's used to preservatives, fast foods, and other things, then you get grumpy microbiome. You get grumpy critters in your second brain. So I've been vegetarian for a long time, since I was bedridden and I got so sensitive. I don't think I shared that here. I had a bite of a burger, was transported to a slaughterhouse and got to experience what that was like, not just for one cow, but for the hundreds of cows that were in that one bite. So I went vegetarian after that. I went vegan one year when I was super poor, and just because I've always thought, like, I think I would do better without dairy and not having chickens, because I had chickens and I loved them and I had a hard time eating their eggs after I had them because they were awesome. Uh, so I was doing that on my own. I just got fear from everyone, and okay, maybe you're right. I also didn't have money for like vitamin B12, and I was so busy and tired from working that I didn't have time to research stuff. So, anyways, I went back to vegetarianism, and I don't eat as healthy as a vegetarian. I mainly just eat cheese and eggs when I'm vegetarian.
Yeah.
And so, but this raw vegan followed this guy, Shane Sterling, and he promotes this juice fast, or they call it a feast, because there's unlimited calories, like you don't want for food or sustenance. You're very full.
Right.
But this juice fast helps you get rid of the mucoid plaque and the nasty microbiome that's used to yuckiness and what it's been having, and the acidic, rancid, stagnant environments that we provided, because cooked food, cooked oils especially, cooked oils are carcinogenic. It's stagnant, it's rancid, it makes everything else go rancid. So that all gets flushed out in the juice fast. You're using some bentonite clay and psyllium husk to help grip onto that and pull that biofilm out. When that biofilm is gone, then you can absorb things that you couldn't before, because it's hard. Like it blocks. It's like a block. It's not allowing good stuff to go in. And I knew I wasn't absorbing things. So that got out. I felt amazing the whole time I did it. I was even teaching tons of yoga classes. Like, so it's not like my energy went down,
Energy problems,
but
right?
I had plenty of energy. I was super happy. I was like singing, humming naturally. It's feeling really good. My intuition was on point, and all the negative voices that I thought were in my head, they were gone. That's actually in our gut. It's real things talking to us, talking
Oh, yeah.
smack. And so when I ended that, like replenishing my microbiome with really happy antibiotics, sending them love, and just giving them really good, alive, happy food, they're all happy. Everybody's happy, like gut's happy, mama's happy, we're all happy. I've been really shocked. My intuition has just been really on point and really clear, whereas it used to not be so clear for me. I could see everybody else's really easily, but my stuff was a little foggy. Like totally on point, and it's not overwhelming, because before, when things are so loud, like and obvious, like there's too much, shut it down. This isn't like that. This is like, I feel like a ninja, like, oh, everything's good and masterful. Yeah, amazing. All of my health stuff cleared up. And now that I've been eating just raw vegan, not doing the juice fast, like the weight and the excess is still coming off, because I had been working a night shift where my circadian rhythm just got so off kilter. My whole body was shutting down, and it may or may not have been a government building, and I was taking on the government life suck issue that's in all our buildings. So I kind of got taken out.
And thank you for that.
And the doing this, it's like nothing can hook into me, because I don't have any crap going on anymore, and I'm completely congruent, because it's like the essence of a slave society to be told that we have to engage in death and slavery for these animals, when we're omnivores. We're perfectly healthy and capable living on the plant-based side of things. And especially, none of us are stranded in the middle of the woods in the 1800s, like in winter. It's like we have everything really accessible to us. So the lack of guilt, the lack of cognitive dissonance is amazing. I had no idea how much of my energetic space and headspace that was taking up.
Yeah,
So
it's that's
congruent,
I'm
so much
definitely
alive.
gonna try it. I don't know for how long, but like I love fasting and I love juice cleanses in general. I mean, I could do a juice cleanse till the day is till the cows come home, because you're right. It's not like caloric deficit. Like you get enough caloric.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Enough.
I will say I'm surprised we have not talked about that with it, because that's the reason I don't eat meat. So like my dad was a hunter my whole life, and so like I would until 15, I didn't really eat. Every once in a while we got like McDonald's or something as a treat when I was a kid, but it was like um I don't even know if it was just like French fries and a milkshake. I'm not even sure, but anyway, I remember the first time I really started having like store-bought meat was when I was like 15 or 16. once my parents got divorced, and I was like, "What is this? This is not me." Like, what is in it? Like, I remember thinking it was kind of weird. So by the time I finished high school, by the time I was 18, I didn't touch red meat ever again my whole life. I was like, this isn't, because I always ate elk. That's just like what I ate. And then like to go to that to I remember seeing like slaughterhouses, and my dad owned a dairy and we had a lot of cows, and I was friendly with them, and I would see the inner workings of how it all worked, and I was like, this is they're justifying like the way that it's so amazing and good for you and all that stuff, but I just knew it wasn't. And I also would I when I ate meat, I could feel what it felt right before it died. And then like when people I've heard people say that since then, and people like scuff at them and kind of roll their eyes at it, but I'm like, no, like that really happened to me too. Like I if I ever do eat meat, I obsess about I have an obsessive, like, role going in the back of my head about it, and I just am like, I just can't go back to that. So that's really interesting that you say that. So that's one point. So I have that exact same thing that you, just talked about that. And then the other thing is, I was telling you, I can't remember who, but somebody was talking. I either read something or listened to something about the beings from Telos, like the underworld in Mount Shasta, right? And there was somebody got some like download or message then when they were talking to those beings, and they were like, "You guys eat dead things. All you do is eat dead things." And they're like, our meat," and they're like, "Oh, we're not even talking about your meat. We're talking about like the fact that like, you'll eat an apple that, like, came from New Zealand and was shipped for 2 weeks and then, like, stayed in a like, put it had a wax film on it, and, like, by the time you eat it, it's been picked from the vine from the tree, like, 6 weeks ago. Like, that's not like, all the life force is dead. You're missing the point. The point isn't the actual thing you're putting in. The point is life force. You want to eat life force, and you guys only eat dead force. Like your entire grocery stores, your entire way of eating is killing it, and then you cook it and kill it even more. So I that actually kind of really resonated with me, because when I have a garden, and I do have a garden now, but like when you like pick a cherry tomato off the vine and pop it in your mouth, or you pick a strawberry off the thing, like rinse it off or just pop it in your mouth, it's like, oh, you just feel like, wow, that's like so much better than anything I've tasted at a store. And at one time I was just like, oh, it's because it's fresh. But now I'm sort of thinking like, no, it's because I'm actually eating life force, and I'm not eating something dead from a long, long time ago.
Yeah. We are really programmed to perpetuate death culture. We live in a death culture, slave society. So yeah, it is very foreign. We're living, but and these Essene, these are scrolls from way back in the day. They were translated. I think they got the scrolls in the 40s. Wasn't translated till the 70s, and they're all promoting like local, fresh, raw, and local. I'm like, still there.
Right.
But yeah, it is. There is a lot to the raw food. Um, it's very different than just being cooked food vegan. Very different. And having a community is very important because we've been sold so many untruths. Like, you know how we're all on this awakening journey, and we realize like we need to question everything, but like literally we need to question everything. Like we absorb amino acids to make proteins better when they're already broken down in the plants than we do from the corpses. They're complex proteins.
Right.
We actually have to break them down first and then reassimilate them how we want them. And so we've been told a lot of things, like, and scared and fear-based, like you have to eat this way or you will die. And,
It's
sure, there have been some vegans who died probably because they have an eating disorder, but a lot of people have
yeah.
disorders about a lot of things.
Yeah, but there's been a
But
lot of it. My brother wants to go to an omnivore, an only omnivore diet. Like he's like watching Jordan Peterson or some crap, and he's like, I don't know what like, but he's just like, I could just eat steak. That's it. Like I would just eat only meat, nothing else.
well, and have you heard about the raw carnivore diet? Like
No.
even raw meat is better than the cooked meat. Now, obviously, if you have any knowledge about parasites, you're like, well, that's going to be a lot of parasites. And it is. The blood work shows like your blood's swimming with parasites. But the people are healthier because it's not cooked.
Well, I
Like
knew
the
a chick in
food
New
makes
York
it
who,
carcinogenic and messes with us. These people who are doing the carnivore diets, they don't look as healthy. They may be way healthier. They may have had their health stuff reversed, but they're teeming with parasites and they look a lot older than the same age people who are raw vegan.
no, I mean, it's like if you look at any blue zone, any place that ever has lived to be 100 years old, like with the highest percentage of people, like other Sentierians, like they're usually kind of like Mediterranean diet type stuff. They're not heavy. Like you could do like Western Price, like went and did all the the teeth structure of
I
like
was gonna say the skeleton.
Eskimos and like Amazon people and all that. And there's some interesting information on all that. But the thing is that they don't live very long. That's not a longevity formula like eating a ton of meat, honestly. Sorry. It's just
Yeah.
statistically isn't.
And
Um
the fact that they don't think we can get strong by eating vegan. And it's kind of like, well, gorillas are pretty strong.
and
Yeah.
they're vegetarian. Yeah.
Completely vegetarian. But you know, there are plenty of raw vegan humans who are very strong. And
Well,
I've always known about them. I've always been in the fitness and health arena and known that exists. But I would really encourage anyone who's looking into this to find a community just because we have been told so many things. It gets really refreshing to hear like, oh, that's what's really going on. Oh, that's not a thing. I hadn't thought to question that before because I'd been told it so many
right.
times.
Well, and I also kind of feel like it's like I've been like I mean, I'm talking like I've had my dad and my brother are so against me for being a veg. I get so much shit for being a vegetarian, just a vegetarian, not even
Yeah,
like
same.
when I
I
was a
got the same
vegan, it
thing.
was crazy, but
But
like,
going raw vegan was no big deal because I'm like, you already thought
yeah,
vegetarian
you
was
already
bad.
thought I was crazy with that. Yeah. So, I mean, I remember I went to a wedding one time and I got stuck at this table with these randos and they were like, just, uh, I let somebody have my steak because I didn't like, wasn't going to eat it. And then it was just like, "You're a vegetarian." Well, like, God gave us dominion over the animals. Like, why are you like, these are strangers. I don't know who these people are, but apparently I got put at some, like, religious table. And,
Not
I
the
got
Essex religion
the
table.
amount of judgment and persecution I got for my vegetarianism was, like, on par with, like, "Oh, you would have thought I was an actual criminal who created
Isn't it?
fraud," and yeah.
Isn't it interesting how such a little thing like that is so personal and nobody else's business, it doesn't affect them as to what you eat and how you eat, triggers something so such a reaction that seems so out of proportion.
Oh,
Like
yeah. And
when
that
that happens, that always makes me very curious. Like there's a deep program trigger with this, and whether it's their own dissociative
or collective.
cognitive bias with like I had to justify that I can eat this, and I'm scared if I don't, I'll die. So therefore, I must crush you and this other option out of existence rather than open my mind to it. I don't know, but it fascinates me how how just even saying the word raw vegan can bring out so many
Oh, yeah.
unresearched opinions.
You're gonna die from that. Like, don't you know you're not getting enough? Like, how do you get your protein? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, the amount of things you get, like, I just don't even tell anybody anymore. But it's amazing how much vitriol there
And
is.
I'm telling people about this because it's been so life-changing. And it might just be because this has been the last piece of the puzzle for me. And that last piece of the puzzle means a bit more to you than the 999 before it.
Right.
But I don't have cravings anymore. And I had no idea how much energy I was putting into like pushing away cravings or feeling guilty when I ate them. Oh my
Yeah.
God, that was like a significant amount of energy and focus towards that. All the cravings gone because that microbiome was cleaned out. With all those cravings gone, I'm satisfied in the food I'm eating. I'm so much satisfied with less. I don't crave as much food. I don't eat as much food. I'm not preoccupied with food because there's always like, what am I going to make for this next meal? What am I going to make? Like, and food is so easy to make now. It's so easy to prepare, and it's even better. Like, I think it tastes even better. But I've been fascinated. I have way more energy. Not having the cravings has made it so food and especially my microbiome is not my slave master anymore. Like it's working with me. We're in a collaboration together.
But when I have cravings, I know that it's kind of like not 100% me. And like, and I am not above cravings. Like I
I
do have,
didn't realize that. I thought my body was trying to tell me what it needed,
yeah.
and now it is like, oh, I was gonna have, I had avocados, so I was thinking I would have that today, but then I'm like, but I really want this apple. Okay. And there's tons of other, and there are plenty of meals. There's tons, but it's been amazing how my intuition and what my body is telling me now is like, it is good for me. It is aligned with our health goals. It is aligned with me and my purpose. Like uh, everything's come together, and again, not not participating in any death or any animal practices that are not in the best interest of the animals. Like, cows can smell things from a mile away. Like that's a pretty sensitive nose to force someone to live in their own shit.
Yep.
Just because I'm not participating in those cultures, it's like none of the hooks of the slave culture can access me anymore. Like they can't grab onto anything anymore. It is freeing in a way that I would not have believed. And I would have just discounted somebody else as being like super fanatical if they had told me that.
Well, cool. I'm definitely going to give it a little shot again. I have, like I said, I have never tried. I've done. Oh, I did do raw vegan for 1 month in 2017. Like I was living with I did a Earthship thing, and I lived with my friend Amy, and she was raw vegan, and I ate better. Well, it's always nice. Like I lived in New York, like I've lived with a vegan for she was a vegan
Having a
chef,
buddy,
and she
having
would
a
cook
buddy
for me
friends.
all the time, and it was like amaze balls. But then when I was anyway, when I did this like workshop with my good friend Amy, and she would like cut up like dice grapes into like fours and like strawberry, like she everything, also cutting stuff really fine. It was like really like key, right? So she had everything cut really fine, and she would have like some sort of like chia seed pudding that she would put all these fruits in, and then like drench it with a bunch of like raw cacao on top or whatever, and I'd be eating it going like, "Oh my God, this is amazing."
Really good food. Really good food.
Yeah. So I mean, you have to make it is the problem, and you
Well,
can't.
I really think the juice fast and getting rid of the mucoid plaque and the old microbiome is the key,
Yeah.
just because that just wipes it out and resets you so you don't have the issues. And then because you're creating this really healthy alkaline environment, your whole body shifts. And I've just seen since I've shifted, like everything outside of me is shifting. And yeah, it's fascinating and really cool. You've got a buddy who'll do it with you. So
Yes.
yeah, you're set.
I'm set. I'm gonna try it. So it's gonna be fun. All right, Miss Nicole. So like tell us a little bit more about the sovereign body, well, the sovereign body goddess, but we are not necessarily goddess because the dudes can do this thing too. So like I
Well,
actually joined it. It's on this program. It's on an app called School, and I'm a member of it, and I've been a member of it for like a while. Like how long? Like I
yeah,
know.
since I founded it, pretty much.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
it's been going for a year.
it's been going for a year. There's so many, there's group meditations, there's a lot of, it's a really good place when you're kind of going like, I need something, but I don't know what I need, and I got to figure out. And it's like a really great creative community to go and figure out, like, oh, you know what? I need to do this class, like the art, this like meditation, or this, like it's a way to like it gives me extra tools to figure out how to like I don't even necessarily know if just healing is the word. It's more like up my game, you
Yeah,
know.
you're connecting with all of you and getting all aligned. Yeah.
Okay, when they go to your site, they could do what?
So I have three sovereign embodied practices. They're foundational. Everyone needs to know how to do them. They help you resource within. They help you align to your center and your values and not get caught up in other things. And yeah, foundational practices. They're at my website. You can sign up and get them on my newsletter, and you'll get going. And I would love to hear how they work for you.
And your website is?
Nicole-collard.com. And I'll send you links so you can put that in the notes.
Boom, perfect.
So just for the women, I have the goddesses group. And it's community, it's team. Because a lot of times we're not around people who understand this level of sovereignty or embodiment, but it's where we can heal our sisterhood wounds, where we can work in collaboration rather than competition. We can celebrate the hizzy out of each other, because as women, we're so used to just focusing on not good enough, that's not right, it's not perfect. And we get to embrace like, hey, this 97% rocked and was awesome, and we're on it. And so that community, I'm there live twice a month. So you can ask questions, we can do live coaching, that sort of thing. But I'm actively creating different courses all through the year. Like currently we're doing relieving anxiety things, and just doing a whole toolkit that is amazing of stuff to help you stop pattern behaviors that you don't want anymore and move into the ones you do. I love this is a space where I can dump everything into, because I always have all these ideas and things coming, so I can just like put it all in here. The emotional alchemy classes, they're so profound, so transformative, and a must for any empaths or highly sensitive people. What's great with everything I'm putting in here, and any of the work that you do with me, is when you get more integrated and more connected within yourself, you're not as sensitive to all the shit. Like you're aware of it, but you have a buffer and some space. Like you cannot be so affected by it. You have more resiliency. So all of that stuff is good. For the men, I'm creating where you can just access these products. I don't have a community for you yet, sorry, but you are welcome to work with me one-on-one, do your human design, life-changing. We can heal
She's
all
really
of
good
your
at human
motherhood
design. I love it.
wounds. So you no longer have to have shitty relationships, and you can just go in open-hearted and have a good time with all your relationships.
Well, that's awesome. And yeah, this has been a really cool interview. Is there anything else that you wanted that we didn't touch on, maybe that you wanted to add?
Shame, I think, is the number one tool that keeps us repressed.
Shame.
Um, shame. So to just shine the light of love and acceptance on any parts that you feel are shameful or not, just not acceptable, and start bringing that forth. And maybe, maybe the shame's there for a good reason, but if it's not, if it's just because someone gave you a like, one day when you were little, like, let's get rid of that. Let's connect with all parts of ourselves. It is time to step up. Like all of these solar flares coming through, clearing us out, giving us all this energy. But yeah, it's time to take some action. Time to shift things that are ready to be shifted. We don't have to sit in our poop just because we pooped as little kids, so long ago, right? Let's just like, yep, there's no shame. We're meant to poop, and let's shift some things. Let's change what we don't like. Let's, take some action, be embodied. I promise your body can feel like a treasure trove of bliss. It is possible. I have been there, and I am there. And being sovereign is amazing. Yes, it takes more responsibility. Yes, you have to make choices, but you can get really good and really enjoy making choices and being sovereign and living in your desires while you're grateful and content with everything you have.
Beautiful. I love that. All right, Nicole, this has been awesome. Love you so much. Everybody, you should go do her thingies because they're really, really, really cool. I personally do them. And we will talk again soon.
Thanks, Nikki. I love you
Bye.
too.